In this week's episode, we are sharing a journey of having a baby out of wedlock.
Christ in the center. Welcome to forever. This is our perfect synchrony, like leather and feathers. No matter the weather, we can storm the umbrellas. Take a stroll in my heart. Let's take this further when I'm beside you, baby. See my stakes get better. Let me bet it all. Destiny vendettas. Rosy the emotional description of this love. I am yours, you are mine. The only thing that matters now. We are the Ekimas.
Hello family, welcome back to another episode of Forever Together with the Ekimas. I am Ekima Emmanuel.
Daphne Ekima is my name, and together we are
The Ekimas.
This week's episode is shot at Legacy Heights Apartments in Bugolobi, located at Yanga Avenue. If you are looking for fully furnished apartments or just get away as a couple or as a family, look no further than Legacy Heights Apartments.
In this week's episode that we're discussing, I know this is a very touchy topic that we have had to deal with. The question goes, why now? I mean, somebody out there will be thinking,
how come the story?
well, giving us all the stories, but why now? Why are you talking about it now?
Yeah.
I think this is the time because I think we have overcome that. Yeah. We, as we have already shared, we had our first baby out of
Wedlock.
Yeah, wedlock, and it is something that took a toll on us. It is something that we had dealt with past relationship. I personally had stopped dating. I'd also decided to be that holy man. Yeah. Waiting for that day until marriage.
Yeah.
That's when I will enjoy sex. And I dealt with all the past baggage, and I'd worked on myself as a person. I was just praying to God that when you bring the right woman, the next time I have sex, I'd abstain. Now, the next time I have sex, it should be in marriage, not outside, I mean, after receiving Christ. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for us, and it really took a toll on both of us. And that is something that was not easy to come by, because we had set boundaries. We had, tried to say, we shall not go here, this we shall not do. We meet at this point in public spaces. This is how we do. So that was our commitment that we had set. But the time we decided to lower our guards, that thing happened, and it's something that put us back. Maybe I want to ask you, baby, how did it feel for you during that time?
So first of all, we've shared before about, there's a video, we'll probably link it, why we regret having sex before marriage. That video has that whole story. Specifically in this episode, we want to discuss the guilt and shame that comes with getting pregnant, especially as a Christian in the church. So we had hinted on it that, we had sex before marriage. And the worst part, of course, we went, sought a mentor, got cancelled, etc. And, we felt like we were moving on a clean slate. A few weeks later, we find out, boom, we're expecting a baby.
Yeah.
And guys,
one sin to another.
So, in the church, I feel like people believe that pregnancy is a sin and not even
sex.
Yes. I feel like people castigate people who are pregnant. They are punished more for the pregnancy than actually the sex. Like, people are sleeping around in church, but they are not. It's okay because no one gets to know.
No one gets to know.
Sin is all okay until it's out there. And pregnancy says, here I am, I have sinned.
Yes. Everyone will see you.
Yeah, so when we found out, I remember it was hard. For me, I have shared my story before, how I had also recommitted my life, like 3 years passed, and God had told me, don't date until you're dating again for marriage. And so when I met my husband, God had spoken about us being married, which I think was also, it's a good thing, but I think also kind of caused us to lower our guards. God had confirmed our relationship through different people, but I have shared before that I saw my husband actually before I met him in a dream. So I think when we got together, that kind of created some sort of comfort. Yeah. And, you kind of feel like, I'm going to marry this person. We're going to get married. And, everything is kawa. Yeah. And that's the same thing that people experience when, for example, they do kuchala. I know there's a whole debate on whether kuchala amounts to marriage, etc. But when you do that or you get engaged, then you start to lower your guard as Christians. So in that season, we find out we're expecting, we were in school, we're still at LDC. I am a bishop's daughter. This was unheard of in our family. It was an abomination. And so the first thing I think about was, first of all, Daphne, you were not ready to have a baby. Like, of all the things I'd ever imagined, a baby was not one of them. Even marriage itself, well, we had talked about marriage and we knew we were going to get married soon. But I think I hadn't thought so far into the responsibility that comes with having a baby. So when we found out that we were having Amma, you guys, I literally prayed away that pregnancy. Like, God, take, like, you know how you really pray and say, God, please help me. It was so tough. But the biggest part I think that no one talks about is the shame that comes with getting pregnant while in church. I was in church leadership. I was
A mama.
I was like a role model to some people. And I'm just like, how do you walk past this? Because the truth is it kills your testimony. People knew me to be a certain way. I was such an advocate for, waiting for your spouse, etc. And here I was. The reality had happened. And the reality that had happened was not just that, it was bad enough that we had fallen into sin, but now I was pregnant. And so we start battling with all these things. How do we tell our parents? How do we do this? It was quite so much. And then we had school, which was very demanding. And I remember one thing that guilt does and shame, and I remember if you're probably familiar with the story of Adam and Eve, is that when God comes back and finds that, they had eaten the fruit, what they do is they go into hiding. And that was exactly what we did. In that season, I remember we did not want to face anyone or be accountable to anyone who was, in our church community. But
I think also the reason is because church, a bit does not embrace, there's a lot of condemnation. They condemn you, and instead of lifting you up during that time, it's like the whole world is against you. The only place that you can go to get support is also against you. So you find that you are left alone as a family, as a couple, as a person. You're left alone to think, okay, what do I do? It's now in between you and just God.
Yeah, and it honestly felt safer there. It felt safer because then I would not have to explain to anyone. I would not have to deal with people who had many questions to ask. And so I remember now we start thinking, what do we do? We didn't want to tell our parents until we had a solution. And the obvious thing was, we just need to get married, period. And we'll probably talk about that because in the church there's a whole debate on, should you get married when you're pregnant? Should you not?
Are you just marrying because she's
because
pregnant?
Of the pregnancy, etc. But for me, I would say that actually, whether you should get pregnant, and I know the reason why we're also sharing this story is that we get people in the DMs actually who tell us, I've just found out I'm pregnant, I don't know what to do, I don't want this baby. The truth is that had you not had that baby, what you need to ask yourself, had I not had this baby, had I not gotten pregnant, would I have married this person? Do you get what I mean? That should be the determining factor, because there's also the temptation of going into a marriage with someone that you had no intention of marrying, but just because of a baby, which I think is wrong. So for us, because we already had the plan to get married, we realized that it was the right thing to do at that time. And maybe you can share from a guy's perspective, what do you think, is the right thing? And up to this day, I get people who are like, do you just get married? Do you wait it out? What is the right way to react to a situation like that?
So to me, when we got the news, I think one thing that was certain between me and you was that we were going to end up together. God had spoken about us, and we knew that we were going to get married. Only that we were not expecting a baby at that time. So that's where the bomb was. So I remember meeting a certain relative and told me, you don't need to marry. Many people have impregnated girls. They continue. So there's no need to get married. So I looked at him and I was like, oh God, rebuke you. I think you're not the person that I wanted to meet. But what is more important also, I would say, is that are you confident enough with or without a baby? Because today it's a baby. Tomorrow you'll get married with that person that you are looking at, and you may never have a baby. Are you willing to be with them through good, bad? You know, people say for richer, for poor, for... I mean, they don't want these other things, but I mean, those are facts that come. Are you willing to be with that person? Whether they are pregnant or they do not have a baby. Or they have a challenge, are you willing to be with them? So for me, I'd made a decision that I was going to be with you. So whether it was the baby, I was going to be there. So that's where I was. Yes, it was a shock to me also. I'm like, okay, yeah, the baby has come, but I'd made that commitment. Many guys nowadays feel like, let me just have a baby, let me...
settle. I mean, what's the point of even getting married?
Why should I settle? And then the ladies also are on pressure. You find a girl is on pressure because, I mean, I've had a baby with you. I think I should settle with you. That's not how it is. We can have a baby, but we are not meant to be.
We don't have to be married.
We don't have to be married. Maybe that baby was something else. Because Satan brings certain things into our lives, but God turns them into blessings. So maybe that baby is to take you to another step, is to make you figure out your life. So it's not a must that if you are having you've had a baby with somebody, you should marry them. But if you are committed to that, God has spoken, and you also know that this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, then I believe that you should be with that person. So that's the general thing that I can say. But back to that is that I feel like church needs to come out and, protect people, yes. Very many people do various sins, but the Bible says, come.
Yeah.
Come as you are. Talk to me, and then you will offload off whatever issues that you have or problems. So I believe the church should be supportive enough, not condemning other people, because you find that if you condemn, other people end up going into the world. And what is the world telling them? It is okay.
Yeah.
You can even have another one. You see even the other one, somebody I know of has had 3 babies with 3 different men. Isn't she okay?
Yeah.
Because there is a void. So church, Christians, we need to embrace, we need to be there for others when they fall, to lift them up, to move. That's what Christianity is. It's about love. The gospel that we preach is a gospel of love. So whoever has fallen, or you're thinking, you're contemplating, please, you're not alone. Let this video encourage you. Know that God loves you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There are people who have committed a lot of things. Saul was persecuting God's people, but he turned out to be one of the greatest, okay, not the greatest after Jesus, but after post-Jesus, preachers and apostles that we have had. So God turns every situation. Don't look at the bad. Every bad thing is just a stepping stone for us.
Yeah, and I know that there are different layers to this. It's one thing where, like, for us, we were, we're all on board. We had made a commitment to be together. But I've had people share stories with me where, like, for example, she's pregnant, but the man wants nothing to do with her or the child. And that can be a very, very, very trying time. And the temptation to say, maybe let me abort the baby, or let me not have this baby, or let me do ABCD can be very tempting. And I completely understand. Like, I completely understand. It was very hard for me, even when I knew that, I had someone who was willing to walk the journey with me. And so I can imagine it's probably much, much harder if you had this baby with some random person, and it's one of those things you don't even want to remember. And I just want to encourage you that no child is a mistake. The Bible tells us that I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. So that child is not a mistake. What you did might have been a mistake, but the child is not a mistake. And God has a plan for them. So regardless of whether the husband, the father is supportive or is present, that should not be your business. And I want to just tell you, for me, it's quite emotional actually. Because looking back, I mean, Amma is now 5 years.
Yeah.
It is really the best thing that ever happened to us.
Yeah.
And to think that one day I literally cursed and regretted why I had gotten pregnant. Like, it was like a nightmare. And now 5 years later or 6, I look at my child and I'm like, oh my God. Oh, okay, I want to cry. So why am I saying this is that God's will is always perfect. And the will of God is not that you terminate that baby. The will of God is not that, you know, that baby is a mistake, or you have them and then you start feeling like, oh my God, my life is ruined. I can no longer achieve my goals because of this baby. That is not the will of God. The will of God is that you embrace that child, you take on that responsibility that He has given you. And years later, because God sees ahead, we do not see ahead.
Yeah.
We just see today. God sees beyond us. Trust the God that sees ahead in all that you do. Whether you are being supported by that, you know, man or woman, remember, God knows the end from the beginning. So if you're at crossroads, if you're wondering whether I should keep this baby, it can be a very, very difficult, you guys. It can be a very difficult time. But I just want to encourage you that I see you, I feel you. What you are doing is the right thing. Do the right thing before God. Because the Bible tells us that the wages of sin is death.
Yes.
So if you made a mistake, don't make another mistake by either aborting that baby or, you know, treating them like they are a burden or a curse to you. And
that's sexual sin.
Yes.
It does not come alone. It comes with
other sins.
Other sins,
that is
lying.
Actually, because then you have to cover up for that sin, and that's sexual sin for you.
Yeah.
You get pregnant, now you want to cover up, now you want to do this, and so your life is just, and then you live with this shame on your head. So the Bible tells us that you're a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come. Accept that reality. Whatever happened in the past, accept it. Start on a clean slate. Do not let your past define you.
Yeah.
Yes, that happened, but you could begin afresh.
That's true.
You have a chance to start your story and have a clean journey ahead. Yeah, so we thought we would share this. It's really a difficult one. I think it's something we've taken a while to discuss because it's not just about us, it's also about her daughter. She'll probably go and watch these videos. Yeah, so it's one of those things that while we're okay sharing with our stories, this is actually a story about her, and it's not something you just, you know, talk about. But it was a very tough decision for us. And I just want to tell you that 5 years later, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We are just grateful. Whether the baby had come 5 years before, it does not matter. So just look 10 years ahead. Will this problem matter? Or it will not. Don't make a decision because of some random feeling that you have in the moment. And the church, let us support one another. Be open. I know it is very hard to create a community where people are safe enough to tell you their struggles. But as leaders in the church, let us find a space where we can reach out to those people who are lost. Create a space where people can easily come and tell you, you know, I'm struggling like this. I still don't think that couples should be stopped from wedding because they're pregnant, and that's just my personal opinion.
Which I also agree. The Bible does not say so.
Yeah, different churches have different policies for different reasons, and I understand that sometimes it's because you don't want to encourage or condone, which is also true, because sometimes people see and they're like, oh, so you mean it's okay. But I think at the end of the day, the couple should be counseled and they are told that just help them realize that their wedding should not be because of the baby.
The baby, yeah.
Would you have wedded if it wasn't for this baby? But if that is what will keep them from sinning, why shouldn't they get married? For me, that's my opinion. Anyway, we have come to the end of this episode. I don't. Do you have any parting shots?
Yeah, my parting shots. Paul says that if it's better to be single, but if you are burning, get married. So I think for me, that's my take. Really.
So you should have gotten married way long ago. Oh God.
Okay, guys. Till next time. Much love from you. Please share with us your stories if you have any about the same. Encourage somebody that is out there suffering. We're family.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Till next time.
The only
Bye-bye.
thing that matters now. We are the Ekimus.